But this is a woman with a veil over her face, wearing what looks like a very interesting garment. As much as we can see, she has like this robe that's falling over her and a veil over her face with her hands in the air in a circle. People who think Freemasonry and the Temple Endowment like is just the same thing either aren't members of the church or aren't Freemasons.
Yes.
Why is Hugh Nibley the only one seeing this? What?
He solved all this before we were all born. He's known about this for a long time, and just nobody read his books. Like, tell me someone who's read Hugh Nibley. Like, nobody does.
Yeah, I'm guilty of not reading.
Yeah, I need to crack open some Hugh Nibley.
Right. To say like Joseph became a Freemason and then he came up with this temple doctrine, it's like at least 12 years before this, Joseph was making up temple doctrine or receiving revelation.
Alrighty, sweet. Well, welcome to the actually first ever Iron Rod cast ever. I'm getting used to calling it that because it was He's the Go podcast, but now it is the Iron Rod cast. Back at it with my little brother Ket, and then we have Hayden Carroll back on the screen again. Go ahead and say hi, Hayden.
Hey, I didn't know you changed the name of the podcast. That's news to me. That's cool.
Yeah, go check it out. It's a new profile picture and a new name.
Nice.
Yeah, rebranding, bro. We went from Abram to Abraham, baby.
Nice. Love it.
All right, perfect. Well, we brought Hayden on. Now, if you're watching this and you've seen any sort of like other kind of Mormon apologetics, I guess you could say, you probably know Hayden Carroll. Hayden is debated people in churches. There's actually a good picture of Hayden pointing his finger behind him and screaming, spit coming out of his mouth, and he's like, "These people!" Not really. No, that's not true. But Hayden is passionate about truth, and he's also a Freemason. And we kind of wanted to touch on that subject today. Now, Hayden has told us before what Freemasonry is. He kind of gave us a brief overview of Freemasonry, but we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about the origins. So Hayden, where the crap did Freemasonry come from? I know it's a huge question, but give us like the historical, what we really know, and then let's get into some fun theoreticals.
Sure. So, well, there's two kind of theories. I think one is more prevalent than the other. The less prevalent theory amongst Freemasons themselves is that these rituals have been preserved since the building of Solomon's temple, which is what our ritual surrounds itself by, right? It's a story being told that the participant or the initiate plays a role in, kind of like the temple endowment, like we play Adam and Eve, but in our ceremony, we play the role of a man named Hiram Abiff, who was a master mason in Solomon's temple. And but essentially, you learn his story and how he was pressured to give up the secrets of a master mason, which included grips and passwords and things like that. And we can talk about the connection with the temple endowment there. And so that's one theory, is that it's just been preserved. I think very few Freemasons hold on to that.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, is that like do you know any Freemasons that actually hold that belief?
No, I don't, but there's so many of them that I guarantee you there's at least one who really actually believes that. The more prevalent and I would say realistic possibility of where Freemasonry comes from is in probably the 12th or 13th or 14th century, probably somewhere in Europe. I actually have, I can show you if you want. I have it pulled up here on my screen. I don't know. Can I share?
We do want.
So
yes.
There we go.
Can you see that?
Boom, baby.
So this is written, these are Freemason minutes.
No way.
Written in some sort of Gaelic and dated July 15th of 1599.
Looked like it was a pretty boring meeting.
Yeah, that's right. But this is the earliest that we know, and they were found here in Scotland. The Lodge of Edinburgh, and I know I'm not saying that correctly for anyone who lives in Scotland, but Mary's Chapel number 1 in Scotland in the which was established probably in the 1400s or maybe a little before. This is the
is it named after Mary? Like,
here's the cool part, and this is part of this presentation that I have pulled up. I've given
times. Yes. Okay, let's get into
it. Here's the question that I always pose to Latter-day Saints: is where and when did modern Freemasonry begin? And so here's the when, here's the where, And the question we have to ask ourselves, hey guys, hold on one second. But here's the thing. What if it was in the 1400s or 1300s? What religion were all of these people who were gathering together? Like what? Yeah, they were all Catholic because the Protestant Reformation didn't begin until what was it, 1531 or something?
Oh, I don't know.
So I don't know, Roy, what you were expecting us to talk about tonight, but I do have some slides on the connection
Yeah.
between Freemasonry and the Temple Endowment.
Could you imagine if they were doing a grip in that handshake
That's
right
what
there?
I
That
was
would be
thinking.
insane.
That's what I was thinking.
They are doing one.
Well, so my biggest thing, the reason that this came up to me is because I've been watching. This is gonna sound stupid if somebody wants to clip this, but I've been watching these. I think it's on Netflix, and it's a Netflix series called like Secret Societies, and they go into things like the Skull and Bones at Yale, and also I didn't know this, but the Illuminati, it was actually like an established secret society. Like it was a real, I didn't know it was a real thing, but it was a real thing that like that eventually got eradicated by the Catholic Church. It got ripped apart, but then people think it still exists. But the one that really got me was the Knights Templar. So those guys were a society and they had like secret rituals that they did and stuff. And then I heard a theory in the video that their rituals came from the Catholic Church and that Freemasons might be actually the tail end of the Knights Templar. Like they're actually knights from the Knights Templar and they're running with it. And it's all secretive because they want to keep it alive. So like that's what I heard. So I was like, is there anything actually backing this up? You know, so I mean that's where I wanted to go with it. Can we trace this back to some people, the medieval knights? Like is that a thing?
Yeah, let me show you something. I think you will really like this. Let me just make a
Yes.
edit on here though. Okay, here we go. Let me share my screen one more time. Speaking of the Knights Templar, so here, I don't know if you can see it. The words may be kind of small. I don't know if I can zoom in. On the bottom of this screen, see how it says Entered Apprentice, Fellow Craft Master Mason?
Yeah.
That's what we call Blue Lodge Masonry. This is what I myself have participated in, these 3 degrees, and Joseph Smith also in these 3. There is a rumor that Joseph Smith became this, 33, or some people would say 34, which apparently doesn't exist, degree Mason. But from what I've understood in my studies is that it's called the Scottish Rite. See here, on the right side is the Scottish Rite, on the left is York Rite. Apparently, neither of these were available to Joseph. So my understanding is that he was a Master Mason. Now, just for curiosity's sake, or just for fun, uh, for non-Freemasons to understand, once you become a Master Mason, that's like the highest degree. All of these others, although on this chart are going up, they're seen as lateral moves. Like a Master Mason is like the highest you can get, if you will. And the rest of them are just there are other Masonic organizations that require you to be a Master Mason, and then you can enter into these higher, not higher, but other degrees. I say higher because the number
Are
goes up.
they kind of like merit badges? I mean, obviously more intense, but
Yeah,
a little bit
you're
more
just
like merit
learning.
badges.
Yeah, they're like lectures and you're learning things. The reason I bring this up is because look on the top of the York Rite, the Order of the Knights Templar.
Yo, let's go.
When I was in Southern Utah, which is where I'm affiliated with in Cedar City, Lodge number 35 there, they have a Knights Templar ritual that they do. Like a lot of the brothers there are part of the Knights Templar, and they have their garb and they have the armor and the swords, and they make a ritual out of it. Now, how does that relate to the real Knights Templar? From the Crusades, I don't know, but Masons today hold it sacred and they participate in the rituals that they deem as the Knights Templar. So anyway, that's the connection in modern Freemasonry to the Knights Templar.
I also I'm trying to remember how this wraps into Freemasonry, but I know I'm pretty sure Christopher Columbus flew a Knights Templar flag when he was coming to the Americas, which was really strange because the Knights Templar had already been eradicated. They had supposedly been destroyed. So the question was like, why was Christopher Columbus kind of affiliating himself with the Knights Templar? And the theory is that they actually aren't destroyed, that they're just the Freemasons, which is so dope.
Yeah, I don't know about that theory in that like that's what carried Freemasonry through those times, but I guess it's possible. I don't know enough about it, to be honest.
So where does this connect back? Obviously, like the Catholics, right? Where does this connect back to the Catholic Church?
Yeah, let me scroll down here. This is the fun part. So when I give this presentation to Latter-day Saints, right, when we talk about where and when it came from, the time and the location basically puts everyone being Catholic, right? I have a coworker who served his mission in Scotland, and he said basically everyone's Catholic, right? They're part of the Roman Catholic Church. And so the question that I pose to Latter-day Saints is, if there was one organization prominent during this time in Europe that might have remnants of the temple truths and practices retained from the time of Christ and his apostles, what organization might it be? And my
I love
is
that
the
picture.
Catholic Church. I mean, if you look at the traditions of the Catholic Church and the traditions of like the royal family in England, like they have lots of temple for us temple ritualistic things that they do. Fun fact: Pope Clement the 12th banned Freemasonry in the 1700s, and to this day they're not allowed to be Freemasons. But here's kind of just some of the symbolism that I show. Peter's Basilica here in the Vatican. This is, I'm sure, a special time for them. I don't know what the event was, maybe a new pope or something. But if you look here, here's something kind of
The
fun. Here's,
key, the
yeah,
key is crazy to me. The keyhole.
yep. You see at the top though the cross,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
If you look at the blueprints, you have the square and the compass. Right.
dang.
So you have some of these symbols that mean something to us as Latter-day Saints, right? If you guys have been to the Salt Lake City Temple, this symbol is all over, and they did that on purpose. The square and the
Yeah.
compass was where heaven meets earth, typically is what apostles have said. In our endowment rooms, right, we have most rather ceiling or celestial rooms, excuse me, have circular tables at the center with chairs making a square. Typically, that's how they arrange the furniture in there.
Yeet. Yeet. Someone's gonna clip this and be like, "See, they're admitting it. They're
Yeah.
part of. They're cults from the Masons."
Well, here's the thing. The Freemasons don't, as a Freemason, I can tell you, Freemasons don't say we made this up and this is unique to us. Rather, they say we basically stole some things that we really liked. And my theory is they stole it a lot from the Catholic Church because they were all Catholics. But essentially, my position is they repurposed those symbols for their own teachings. And my second proposition is that that's essentially what Joseph Smith did, right? We don't have to talk too much about this, but I will say I'm comfortable saying I'm not sure how much of the temple endowment is symbolic and how much is not. What I mean
Hmm.
by that is, especially in the most recent edition of the Temple Endowment, there is a phrase or a statement made by the narrator where he says that since the beginning of the earth, God has sent messengers, and these messengers in the endowment are being represented by Peter, James, and John. To me, that means that it probably wasn't actually Peter, James, and John, and to me that means maybe the garden story in the temple endowment that we see was not literal. To me, it doesn't have to be literal, right? It's just a way of teaching us truths. Now, are there truths to it historically? Maybe, and I'd be okay with that too. There's no way to know, I guess. But
Well, I
my
mean, when you talk about it is interesting to bring that up because I didn't realize how much of like the vast majority of Christians believe that Lucifer was actually in the form of a snake.
Yeah,
Like they
exactly.
actually believe he was literally a talking snake
Yeah.
speaking to Eve.
That's actually new.
And what'd you say, Kat?
That's news to me.
Yeah, they 100% believe that he was actually a snake. And then there's and that's why like when and the reason they believe it is also because Jesus like God curses Lucifer that he will be on his belly for the rest of his life.
What was he standing upright though? What was he standing?
He was flying. It's the dragon theory. Have you heard the like that? He was like a dragon, and then God ripped his wings off and made it so he had to be on his stomach for the rest of his life, so he can't ascend. But anyways, we as members of the church don't believe Lucifer was actually in the form of a serpent. We believe Lucifer just is the serpent. The same way we say Jesus Christ is the lamb, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I would say that, well, I would ask the question, was Lucifer literally in there? Like, and here's a question I have kind of on a related topic is like, where's the tree of life? Like,
Heavenly Mother.
Okay, but yeah, we can go into that. But
Whoa.
that's what I'm saying. Like, was the tree of life a literal tree? And some people would say yes, right? Some more literalists, but it's just hard to know. We don't have any revelation given on that. But my whole point of this is to say that Freemasons have symbols that they stole, I think. And we have symbols that, in a way, I would be comfortable saying we stole or whatever we use, repurposed
Yeah.
for our own purposes. And here's a great example, right? The square and the compass, right? That lots of us wear in our underclothing. Like, are those actual symbols that are going to be in heaven that we're going to have to know, or is like this just a way to teach us something while we're here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Now,
Like,
Totally.
now I have seen a lot of in different cultures the square and compass show up in like Eastern cultures or in like Mayan cultures or things like that. Which is not probably has nothing to do with the Freemasons, but it is
Well, like the Egyptians as well. They
right.
got crazy square compass things going over there.
yeah, and I think one of the cool things about that is we can also say that if truth is true, that it can perpetuate time and cultures, and so we'll see that throughout different places.
Right.
I think that's viable and actually strengthens our position. Here's the first really cool picture that I really love to see or to show rather. I always I
Yeah.
always ask Latter-day Saints, have you ever worn clothing like this? And they're like, no. And I'm like, think about it. When's the last
Yeah.
when's the last time you went to the temple? All the people are like, no. I'm like, oh, you haven't been in the temple in a year. Go to the temple and you're gonna put on clothing that looks very similar to this. And so my question always is, why is the Catholic Church wearing robes like this?
Yeah.
Like, and I think a cooler thing, and I don't know your position or if you have any data on this, my understanding is that there was no Catholic influence in the time and area of Joseph Smith when he was alive. In
Yeah.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so that's an interesting thing about Joseph Smith is there was no Catholic influence and there was little to zero Jewish influence.
Yeah.
And almost everything we do in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, like Catholics and Jews are doing these things. Even Jewish people have the undergarment that they wear
Mhm.
that has the four tassels on it that remind them of the covenants they've made with God. Like that's literally what it means. So, and then Joseph Smith, every time that God appeared to Joseph Smith or an angel appeared to the scriptures, I'm pretty sure it took place on an important Jewish holiday.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
someone's gonna have to check me on that, but Joseph Smith would not have known that unless he was a random studier. Another thing that he randomly decided he wanted to study Jewish religion for some reason.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like, I mean, what do they say? Basically, like one of these evidences alone is like, okay, like that's lucky. But like when you line up everything about what Joseph did and all the evidences for everything, the visions and the Book of Mormon and all those things, it's like how like either this is God or the best argument I've heard for non-believers is, or for non-LDS members, is it was either God or it was the devil that made him do it. Like there's no other way, like a naturalistic explanation just doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't
There
work.
has to.
And the latter being the devil, I'm like, you'd be hard pressed anywhere else to find the devil being like, yo, follow Christ.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But here's what they would say is they would say that he's done a great job because we're following a false Jesus. So we're all going to hell. So Satan's doing a
Yeah,
great job, right? But
yeah.
then the question becomes like, okay, show me a statistic or something about Latter-day Saints that is less Christian than the mainstream Christians of the world. Like
Right.
we beat them out on every single metric.
Yeah, look at the fruits. Look at the
Yeah.
fruits. And then
Yeah.
what I've started to say, which has gotten people too angry, and I have to stop saying it, is the only person in the Bible I know that's multiple beings into one essence is Legion. So, I'll stay away from that guy. I'll stay away from that guy.
Interesting. I don't have a problem saying that at all. Here's a cool picture for anyone watching this who's been endowed and has a hard time with temple clothing. Where do you think your temple clothing like is modeled after? It's modeled after the great Jewish high priest that would go into the temple. Like, read the book of Exodus, for heaven's sake. Like, we walk in and we see the hats that the men wear in the temple, and it's like, oh, that's so weird. It's like, have you ever seen the oh, what do they call it when the royal family when they get a new king or queen? I forget. There's
Oh, in
What's that?
Coronation. The
Yeah, man.
coronation.
All of that. And they do the hand symbols and all that. Like it's totally there. And
Yeah,
they're
they hold things and I don't know if you knew I don't know if you knew this, but at the very end of the coronation they'll say like all hail the king 3 times in unison together. They all yell all hail the king,
yeah.
all hail all hail king so and so, all hail king. It's like
Yeah. That's what I'm
pretty
saying.
intense.
Like to say that Joseph just made this up, like there probably is a core or a common source of truth, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, this is kind of cool. Like just this graphic is not LDS drawn, right? This is just from online. You can find on Google. But just so you know, Latter-day Saints, when you go into the temple, this is what you're wearing. I show this to my seminary students, and I say one of the weird parts about the temple that people struggle with is the clothing and the way we pray. And there's a couple other things, right? The true order of prayer and things like that. That's why I also show them this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I love this picture so much.
This is under this is in the catacombs under Rome in under Vatican City, and we have a woman wearing a veil over her face, robes with her hands in the air. Like, what is she doing? Hugh Nibley wrote this. This is free online. You can go find it. He says that in history we find Christian prayer circles dating at least to the early third century, which is great, which is 200
So
AD.
this is what frustrates me is like is Hugh Nibley the only person seeing this? Are
Yeah.
people saying are people saying like, oh, Hugh Nibley, you're actually just delusional? Because I know that we read, like no matter who you are, you'll read your own narrative into whatever you see. But this
Mhm.
is a woman with a veil over her face, wearing what looks like a very interesting garment. As much as we can see, she has like this robe that's falling over her and a veil over her face with her hands in the air in a
Mhm.
circle. How?
Yes.
Why is Hugh Nibley the only one seeing this? What?
He solved all this before we were all born. He's known about this for a long time, and just nobody read his books. Like, tell me someone who's read Hugh Nibley. Like, nobody does.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
guilty of not reading
Yeah.
reading.
I need to crack open some Hugh Nibley.
Right. Temple in the Cosmos. Go read that book. Um, Let me show you here another picture. Did I show you this last time? This is
um,
Oh yeah.
this is in
oh,
This one's crazy.
a cathedral in France, and you look at the center of that. It's Jesus, but what's he doing with his arms?
Can't make this
yeah.
crap up.
Yeah, here's a better picture of him there. So this is
Are,
Catholic Church. Yeah, go ahead.
are there 3 levels there? Go back.
One, maybe. One, two, three. There
Yeah.
it is.
And the ones at the top, they're flying. Tell me
Yep.
there's not a tree in the one in the bottom, because if
Yeah.
there's a garden in the one in the bottom, that would be crazy. I don't know.
Looks like a devil right there. Oh, did you see that guy?
Yes. Yep. It does look like the devil.
My
And then there's
God.
like demons and stuff. It's weird.
Oh man.
But even Jesus Christ is like breaking the second
The
and third barrier or whatever.
Yeah, he's breaking the barrier to get up into that
Yeah.
third place. Are there angels sticking their hands down through?
Maybe. Well,
Looks like it.
we got other pictures for that. I think we looked at them last time.
Yeah.
We'll look at him
we
again.
looked at this already. This was Hugh Nibley. This is Temple in the Cosmos. He goes over all this. In ancient cultures, we have robes, we have hand gestures, things like that.
Yeah.
Oh, we did this one, didn't we? This is the initiatory.
Yeah. Yeah, this one blew my mind. I sign your forehead in the name of the Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. What in the world? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's cool. So that, and then last but not least, this is the my friend Alma Allred took this picture in Ravenna, Italy, north of Rome. I forget if I think it was at a cathedral, right? And
Yeah, so it's well, okay, wait, before we show the thing, someone told me that he served his mission. So I posted a video about this and someone commented and he said that he served his mission in Ravenna, Italy.
oh,
And he
cool.
said that they would go tour it. And he said at one side of the cathedral are like people, and as you go through to the other side, you get to Jesus Christ. And
Mhm.
everywhere there's people holding veils that you can pass through, and
Mhm.
there's people like signaling to people to come. There's other people like hiding behind veils, and like it looks like they're all trying to get like going through these veils to get to Jesus on the other side of the cathedral, which is
Totally.
crazy.
Yep. And I will say, just to comment on this, like, do I think that we're gonna have to go through a literal veil in heaven? Like, no, I think it's so symbolic. It's trying to teach us something. It's trying to teach us something that maybe we can't comprehend quite yet, but using physical objects that we're used to. Like, what's the purpose of a veil? It's to hide something,
Right.
right? It's to cover something, and then you go through it, and we learn in the book of Hebrews, I think it is, and in the temple endowment, they now mention it, that the veil is a representation of the flesh of Christ. It's Jesus Christ. So it's
Yeah.
all symbolic. Like anyone watching this who's Latter-day Saint or non Latter-day Saint, please don't think that we're going to be necessarily be doing these things in heaven, hand gestures, the grips, passwords, things like that. I really do think, and I don't mean to take away from the sacredness of all those things, which they are, but I really do think they are symbolic to teach us higher truths. I don't know how else to pull that out. You know what I mean? I don't know. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, I mean, hear me out, but like I think that there's a part of the temple ceremony that we've lost because there's supposed to be a type of camaraderie that comes with the fact that we know the secrets of heaven.
Yeah.
And we've lost that camaraderie. We don't really
It's like
and
the
we
church is big.
what was that?
I said maybe the church is too big. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's not big compared to like the Catholic Church at all, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It was easier when it was only like 5,000 members. You
It
know what I
was
mean?
easier when we were a cult.
Yeah, essentially.
Back in the day. No, I mean, I I do think that the prophets are really trying to be like, listen, it's cool to be part of something, but it's cooler to recognize that you're part of Christ because you get some people, I mean, stories of people back in the 80s, those dudes were like freaking, they were crazy about their cult like atmosphere. They loved the secrecy and the fun things that come with that. So I think that it is important to focus on Jesus, but we are losing some of that like the fun, you
Yeah.
know?
In fact, I wonder if part of the Freemasons reason for kind of taking what they learned at church was applying it to a brotherhood that they can now use often.
Yeah,
And
totally. And why not?
yeah.
And you get people like when you watch National Treasure and when you watch, Angels and Demons or Da Vinci Code, like they always paint Freemasons as this evil organization, like the Illuminati or whatever. And Protestants and Catholics hate us, right? Because they
Right.
think that we're devil worshippers. And some Latter-day Saints feel that way too. Secret combination. I
Yeah,
mean,
you said us. I just want people to know we're not Freemasons. Okay?
yeah, myself and our fellow Freemasons. But I don't have any evidence. And now, have there been some Freemasons that have done some really bad things? Probably. But have there been some LDS people who have done some really bad things? Yeah. Right. In any organization, you're going to get some bad apples. But I don't see Freemasonry and all the evidence that I have. And people would say, "Oh, you're not a high enough degree yet. You don't know the evils that are at the top or whatever." But as far as I can tell, they encourage me to be a part of my religion. They encourage me to worship a God. They teach me principles of truth and light that help to better my life. So I don't see an antithetical to the gospel of Jesus Christ as we know it. Do we want to zoom in here to these hands on the
Yeah,
left?
Yes, sirree.
Let's do it.
Here they are. So
Yeah,
this it's on
buddy.
the left side there, the veil. In this part of the presentation, I say, why are there hands coming out from behind the veil? Like what? Like obviously Joseph had never been here and never studied this. So like, why? Where is Joseph pulling this from?
So I looked this up. I said, why are there hands behind the veil in the Ravenna, Italy on ChatGPT? And ChatGPT told me that it looks like the theory is that they're severed hands.
What?
Golly.
That's
So
great.
I don't know. I mean, that's ChatGPT. I don't think they look like they're fine. They look like they're about human height. So unless somebody severed her hand and then stuck it through a veil,
It's crazy. And here's another piece of information that might be helpful. For the three blue lodge, the blue lodge degrees that I've been through and that Joseph Smith went through, there's no part of the ritual where hands are coming out from behind veils. Like that's not part of the ritual. Like,
Okay.
what?
Yeah, no, not at all. And
See,
so
that's what boggles my mind even more. Where the junk did Joseph get the idea then?
here's what Joseph stole from the Freemasons. Can I set the record clear?
Yeah, please. Can you please set the record clear? This is crazy.
I think that Joseph, to teach the Latter-day Saints in a way that they could be taught. He stole obviously the method of teaching, right? We're placed in the story, we're acting it out. Now we use the video, but before that, Joseph didn't conceive of TVs and movie projectors, so they were acting it out. He definitely stole that aspect to teach. He did use some of the symbols, and some may say even some of the grips. They're not all exactly the same, and there's different ones, the ones that we don't use. But I think he used some of the symbolism in Freemasonry to teach divine principles. And I, for one, having been through the endowment, having been through those, I don't have a problem with that at all, because that's essentially what the Freemasons did. Knowing all of the other, now, if we just isolated that fact and we didn't know anything else about Joseph, it'd be like, yeah, that's sketch, like that, like he's not divine. But when you add the first vision, when you add the Book of Mormon, when you add the organization of the church and the priesthood, and you add all of it together, it's like, okay, obviously there's something here. And so, anyway, my message to Latter-day Saints during this presentation is like, don't let Freemasonry freak you out, or rock your testimony, because there's a lot that you don't know, and there's so much actual, like, as I become a Freemason, I wouldn't say it's necessary to be a Freemason to have a testimony of Joseph or the temple, but if anything, my testimony has been strengthened because of these things. It's like the phrase is always, there's no way Joseph could have known this. And there's nothing in the historical record that tells us that he knew it or that he could have had access to any of this information. To me, that's miraculous, right? How else? And not to give a God of the gaps theory, like how else? But really, like, what is the explanation that aligns with the historical record? And if you ask an atheist or a non-Latter-day Saint, they just cannot give you a good explanation. Right.
Yeah.
You guys know that the theory went from Joseph is so stupid that Sidney Rigdon wrote the Book of Mormon to, okay, we know that's not true, so Joseph must be a secret genius.
Yeah.
And it has to be secret because there's no record of it. The
Yeah.
historical record says the opposite. And so where does that theory come from? Basically, they say, well, I know that I'm right, so there either is no God, or the Trinitarian God would not allow this to happen, or the devil made him do it. So you have to come up with this theory without actually looking at the evidence. That's the issue that I find with it.
Yes. I
Yeah.
would also say, for members, if there are members watching this, if you stumble upon something like a video of someone talking about some church history thing, literally, like in my experience, 85 to 90% of the time, and I would love to say 99% of the time, but I want to be too biased, but 85 to 90% of the time, there are a couple of things we know, and then anti-RX members jump to a conclusion that they think is the most plausible. Like, they're like, oh, this is what must have happened. It's like, what the historical record does not say that, it just doesn't. You're reading your own narrative into this. That there's no other. That's what you're doing.
Yep. It's eisegesis.
Like it. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just taking their presuppositions and saying, okay, if I believe all these things, then Joseph can't be a prophet. So regardless of the historical record, I have to come up with some theory to say why he couldn't or didn't do what he said he did.
Yeah.
Basically.
And look, I like conspiracy theories too, but I call it how I see it. I say, yeah, this is a conspiracy theory. People talk about like the view of the Hebrews, the Psalms, or the wait, what are the manuscripts? What are the
Spalding. Yeah, Solomon Spalding.
manuscripts? And those are just straight conspiracy theories. Like straight conspiracy theories. They have to jump 2, 3, 4 times to this to make it to the Book of Mormon. And I just want people to be honest. Like, you can tell me, I mean, I left the church because I didn't like how my parents raised me, and I like the conspiracy theory of the Solomon Spalding manuscript. And I would be like, all right.
Yeah. That's a more honest way to put it. Here's what I would say. When Jacob Hansen did his debate with Trent Horn, his main argument was, you guys are using a double standard.
Yeah.
Like the Christians of the world, when you ask them, why do you believe in the resurrection? They say, well, we have all the witness testimonies. And it's like, okay, well, what do you do about the witness testimonies of the Book of Mormon and the golden plates? They're like, they were Joseph's family and close friends, and they denied the Book of Mormon, which they never did. Right? I don't know where that comes from. Or they say,
they try to say that.
Yeah, and they'll basically try to discredit the witnesses, and it's like, no, how about you use the same standard? And the only reason you're not doing that and you're ignoring the historical record and the witness testimonies is because it contradicts what you believe. That's all that's happening there. And you can say it in as
I
many ways
think
you want to say it, but that's essentially what's going on.
Right.
when you're if you're a member of the church and you're talking to somebody online, it is obvious. Personally, online is not the best place to talk about your religion to people because they'll just freak out on you. But if you're talking to somebody, you need to figure out how to flip them on the defense and start saying things like, okay, wait. How do you think Joseph Smith got the gold plates?
Totally.
Because then they have to say something. And
Yeah.
whatever they say is a chaotic, crazy answer. Because some will say there were no gold plates. So it's like, okay, so Joseph Smith convinced 19 people to lie about witnessing the
Yeah.
literal golden plates.
It's
And
the
if you believe
conspiracy.
that, right. And then if they say like, oh, well, Joseph Smith made them himself. Well, okay, well, where did he get that much gold? And then they have to be like, oh, well, he was a treasure digger. He found no, there's no evidence that Joseph Smith ever found any gold when he was treasure digging. So where did he get it? And they don't have answers. They have to jump to a conspiracy theory. And I think it is the same thing for Freemasonry. When
Mhm.
people are like, oh, Freemasonry is satanic, like you said, people who think Freemasonry and the temple endowment like is just the same thing either aren't members of the church or aren't Freemasons. Because
Yeah.
anyone I've met that's a Freemason that knows about the temple endowment is like, they're not the same. Even if they've left the church, they're like, yeah, I don't like the church, but those are not the same. They're
No,
not the same at all.
content's not the same at all. Yeah, it's interesting when we find critics online. I like the idea of putting them on the defense. And again, I'll just reiterate, any time that somebody gives an explanation, at least for the Book of Mormon, you have to ask them this question. You have to say, how does your explanation of the Book of Mormon coincide with the historical record? Because think about it like this. That basically they start to argue like atheists, right? If an atheist went to a Christian who believed in the resurrection and they said, Jesus didn't exist or Jesus didn't get resurrected, what would the Christian say? They would say, what does the historical record show? Like, you're saying nonsense. Like, you're saying something that is like contradictory to what we know actually happened based on the record. And that's the argument that we're using. We're saying apply it to the resurrection, yes, of course, but also apply it to the Book of Mormon and apply it to everything, right? But at least be consistent. And you'll see in that debate with Jacob Hansen and Trent Horn last August, like Trent was sweating in his boots because he knew. And here's one of the dumbest things that he said. He said, I don't have to argue this. Essentially, the safety net is if the Catholic Church is true, then the Book of Mormon's false. So that's how I'm going to win this argument. And it's like, okay, well, now you've just changed the entire nature of the conversation and the debate. Like now we have to debate apostolic and papal authority. Like you've just
Yeah, well, my favorite thing that he said was when Jacob Hansen was saying Martin Harris went and got the anthem. He went and got the script, and he was like, "Why would Martin Harris lie about those documents or the pages?" And Trent Horn goes, "Well, because he just sold his farm, so he wanted to back up for it." And Jacob goes, "He
it
sold his
was
farm after." And
yeah.
then Trent Horn was like, and like changes
Why?
the
Oh,
question or
are
something.
they still friends?
I think they do stay in contact. I hope they do some more content together. But yeah, that was gold. That was a golden moment.
It was so good. It's so good. All right, here's my theory about Freemasonry, and I'm not a Freemason, but this is my theory. I think it does stem from the Temple of Solomon. That's my theory because I'm not a Freemason, so I'm allowed to say whatever the crap I want. My theory is that these Masons were hired to build the Temple of Solomon, and let's say the endowment ceremony, right, a ceremony or whatever, they would have to etch these things in the rocks. Now, if they were just hired to etch these things into rocks, but they actually didn't know what they were because they weren't part of the indoctrinated group,
Mhm.
that means they could steal some of the, like,
Mhm.
oh, we etched these things, we found these things. You know what? I don't know what this is. I don't know what these Jews are doing, but I'm going to take them and I'm going to use them for that's my theory. And I'm dying on that rock. I don't care what the crap anyone says. That's the rock I'm dying on.
That's
And
good.
it carried down.
I like that because that's a good theory because you can't like prove or disprove that. So it's a good
Yeah.
one to say.
That's the one I'm on.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I mean, I don't really have much more. I think that people need to definitely look into like the Christian origins of veils, hand grips, hand signs, things that you do with your hands that like symbolize other things. I don't know if these things are really disputed. Like it's etched in the walls. It's
Yeah,
painted.
yeah. Do you know about any of that? Like, Christians will deny temple practices after Jesus?
Oh, sure.
I've heard that, but with all this stuff in the catacombs and all the paintings on the ceilings and all that stuff, like, what do they say?
Here's the thing. I mean, are you talking about Catholics? Like,
Catholics
Catholics
and
and
Christians.
Protestants. I mean, Protestants they don't have any backbone. They just are like, I think I'm right. It was like,
well, the Protestants have a case to say that the Catholic Church basically was entering into an apostasy,
Oh, I
essentially.
see, I see.
Kind of what we believe. But if you ask a Catholic, why, what are these symbols? What does this mean? Why did the Catholic Church do this? I don't know if they know. Maybe a bishop or somebody who's studied in this, but I don't think the average, kind of like that average Latter-day Saint's not going to be able to tell you all the temple symbolism and what it means
True.
and all these things. Like, so I don't know what they would say.
well, I
Um,
do know that Catholics have something called the Knights of Columbus. Have you ever heard of that?
no, I don't know anything about that.
They have a sword. It's part of their like they have a ritualistic sword that they have. They have a head set that they put on and a veil that goes a veil, a thing that goes over the right shoulder, and only men can be part of it. So it's a fraternity. And I
Oh,
don't know what they do, but you do have to be initiated into it. So I know that there's like
mm. There's
something going on there.
there's
Like
definitely that's modern. That's happening today.
that is my wife's grandpa
Oh,
is
wow.
part of that order, the Knights of Columbus. So, like, I haven't asked him about it because I don't want to like overstep anything, but
Sure.
I've seen pictures of it. It's pretty interesting. Like, it's like, what the heck?
Yeah, I don't know if they would know the origins of that, if they have theories, but yeah, it's hard to dispute. It's just it's fun to bring up just to get someone thinking about it. It's like what is all this stuff? Especially Latter-day Saints because we have temple stuff, but like I don't know, the average Protestant or Catholic's like why were they doing these things? Or like why are they wearing this type of clothing or I don't know if they know the answers or they have answers to that. The Vatican
I
might have things on it, but I don't know if
I
they have.
have one last question before we kind of wrap things up. Do we know, like, the apostles went to the temple, right? After in Acts, did they stop going? Is that I have not studied it that much.
There's no that I know of, no historical record of that we have preserved. I would say we do have records of an ordinance that does happen in the temple, and that would be the washing of the feet. So that's
Hmm.
preserved in Scripture. Jesus Christ. There is other non-biblical what's the word? What's the extra biblical
Oh,
scripture?
Gnostic
No,
Gospels or whatever.
no, the
Apocrypha.
Apocryphal.
yeah, the apocryphal writings. I think it was actually Hugh Nibley or someone in that era who basically said there are evidences. Actually, it was Hugh Nibley, where he basically says there are evidences of early Christian prayer circles where, or even writings of Jesus kneeling down and being in a circle of the apostles and him giving a prayer and the apostles repeating it. So there is some writings, although not taken as authoritatively from the larger Christian church, but there are historical writings in the early church. Well,
There there's a one that I read. Oh, it's called like the seven circles of something, and the whole entire it's written. Apparently, it claims to be written by the apostles of Jesus Christ, and it claims to be what Jesus Christ taught them when he was with them for 40 days after the resurrection.
yeah,
And it's about like these circles, and you have to go through each circle and learn like a new thing from an angel until it brings you to the innermost part. I know that that's like it's an apocryphal text or whatever, but it is interesting that somebody wrote that. Like
yeah.
who and why? Why did they write that? Even if it is apocryphal, maybe Peter wasn't writing it, but it's like someone did. What is it?
Yeah, this is what I just think. It's like people that claim and maybe we've already covered this, but ex-members and anti-Mormons will literally die on the hill that Joseph stole it all from the Freemasons. And every conversation I've had about Freemasonry and the two conversations we've had with you, Hayden, it's like he would have had to come up with a lot more crap if he just got initiated and then like spit out the endowment ceremony.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah. Well, to add to that, here's another check on Joseph. Think about this. The first, I think it was 9 men that Joseph gave the temple endowment to were all Freemasons. So if he was stealing the Masonic endowment or Masonic rituals, don't you think they would have known and would have been like, "Oh, what are you doing? Like this is Freemasonry. Stop." But none of them said that. None of them. They
They
said
would,
that
Yeah.
they
they're
said
like,
this.
this is cringe, Joseph, bro. We already know this, dude.
Yeah. And that's another notch on Joseph's belt of all the miracles that he performed in the historical record that jives with the church's position rather than the critics'
Right.
position.
Was the oath and covenant of the priesthood written before or after Joseph Smith was made a Freemason? I'm gonna have to look this up.
Probably before, because he was initiated in 1842 into the Grand Lodge of Illinois, and I think the oath and
Didn't he
covenant
die in 43?
44.
44.
Yeah, so he was only a Freemason for like 2 years. But his brother was a Freemason. His dad was a Freemason. Oath and Covenant of the Priesthood is 84. So yeah,
80. Oh, is it 84? I thought it was 89.
D&C 84 was given in 1832.
So this is interesting. The beginning of the oath and covenant of the priesthood in verse 2, the word of the Lord concerning his church, established in the last days for the rest of the people, as he has spoken in the mouth of the prophet. Da, da, da. If you get to the very bottom of that second verse, it says, gathering his saints to stand upon Mount Zion, a mountain that's Zion, seems like a temple, which shall be the city of New Jerusalem. And the next thing, there seems to be something here. Which city shall be built beginning at the temple lot, which is appointed by the finger of the Lord. It sounds like this is a temple conversation. And at the very end, after also all of D&C 84 is just like, here's the standard you have to live by, choose to accept it. Here's the standard you have to live by, choose to accept it. And it has like 5 or 6 standards that you have to live by. And then at the very end, if you go to verse 119, it says, for I, the Lord, have put forth my hand to exert the powers of heaven. Ye cannot see it now, yet a little while, and ye shall see. And now, and know that I am, and that I will come, and that and reign with my people. So that's totally a temple.
Yep.
That's a temple ceremony. And right before he says that he's going to put his hand out to them, where is it? He asks them to join. Oh yeah, verse 98. It says, the Lord shall see eye to eye and shall lift up their voice, and with the voice together sing the new song. Sing the new song, saying, and then it goes through a song from 99 to 102, a song that they're supposed to sing together, and after the song is sung, a hand will come through in verse 119 and give them the powers of heaven. Now, D&C 89, if you don't believe that God gave that to Joseph Smith,
84.
that would mean, oh, sorry, D&C 84. If you don't believe God gave that to Joseph Smith, that would mean Joseph Smith, like, was just giving like Freemason possible things, endowment ceremony things, and then just was like, boom, I'm gonna do it. Like after he became a Mason, if I were him, I would have done it before if I already knew.
Totally. And you know what's crazy though? The earliest mention of the word temple in the Doctrine and Covenants is D&C 36, verse 8, December 9th of 1830. The church was 6 months old. And then a month later, January 2nd of 1831, in D&C 38, verse 32, Christ mentions the saints being endowed with power for the first time. So to say like Joseph became a Freemason and then he came up with this temple doctrine, it's like at least 12 years before this, Joseph was making up temple doctrine or receiving revelation about the temple. And he gave the initiatory, they had the Kirtland Temple, right? All those things, they had to leave it, that whole history. But he had been talking about and receiving revelation and writing scripture about the temple and being endowed with power way before he became a Freemason. The historical record does not really have to contend with it in order to deny it. And I don't think you can be honest and do that.
The only way that you could say this makes maybe he figured it out is if Joseph's dad walked Joseph Smith through the whole Freemason everything when Joseph was 14.
Totally.
And so
Mm-hmm.
there's no record of that. You just have to be like, this is my theory. And it's like, there's no, and if his dad was really a Freemason, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that.
They were very serious about, you don't share, like even I today, like I'm not sharing these things with you guys or anybody.
I know. I tried to ask you questions last video, and you were like, "I'm not telling you that." Are you
I can
kidding?
tell you that.
No,
Like
but
you think I'm just
I won't tell my spouse. I won't tell my child. I won't tell my parents, my brother, nobody when it comes to those things. Like I made a promise that I wouldn't.
Well, great. Hey, you know what? Hayden's part of a cult, but the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, not a cult.
Used to be back when it was based. Now it's kind of like, no, I was joking.
Awesome. Well, do you have any last thoughts, Hayden? I thought that was great. I'll end on that. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. No, just to reiterate, don't let critics, say things that just are not true without challenging them. Like do some research and yeah, if you guys want to learn more about Freemasonry, reach out to me and I can tell you what I know.
Heck
Oh,
yeah.
dude, I already did my first visit to a lodge in Chandler, bro. I texted you about it. You didn't text me back. Anyways, okay, we'll hash that later. Well, thanks for coming, guys. And in the end, I know we didn't talk about it very much, but I like to end on this note. The temple endowment, the veil, all of it, it's all about Jesus. That is why we do it. We don't do it. We really don't do it for some fraternal order or some way to like that we're all just, it's about Jesus. It's about getting to know him and learning about him. And he's the greatest. He's the greatest to ever do it. So come back next time to the Iron Podcast and we'll hash something else out live on the air here.